Although many believe that living together before marriage will lower their odds of divorce, there's no evidence that this is generally true, and a lot of evidence that it is not true.
And there's so much confusion around this cohabiting trend, and there needs to be light shined on this. And I love what Sean McDowell says. Pay attention to the stats behind what happens when couples cohabit before marriage.
Here's some of the negative effects of cohabitation. Now, again, we're going to come back to this because the data is somewhat clear. The reasons why somebody cohabits, whether they're engaged or not, will affect some of this data. So this is just including all people that cohabit, even though it could be nuanced. Some of this is, I think, really clear. Much higher levels of sexual infidelity. So 2019 Texas Tech study found that cohabitors, 57% greater likelihood of sexual infidelity compared to married couples. Now,
while they were cohabiting.
Yes. Those who are cohabiting have that, exactly. The National Sex Survey showed cohabiting women 8 more times more likely than wives to cheat on their mates. So if you take those who are married women, those who are cohabiting women, those who are cohabiting 8 times more likely to cheat than women in a married relationship. That's one example. Another one is domestic violence. The Family Violence Research Laboratory at the University of New Hampshire says that the overall rate of violence among cohabiting couples is double the rate compared to married couples, and the rate for severe violence is nearly 5 times greater. Third example, financial resources. Cohabitors are less likely to share financial resources. It's more like roommates than it is in a married, is the example. They're less likely to save and accumulate wealth, not selfishly, but just for their kids, for their future, for retirement. The National Marriage Project reports that while the poverty rate for children living in a married household is about 6%, it's 31% for children with a cohabiting mother and father. Again, we see the negative effects on children.
Anytime people suggest that cohabiting is a good idea, it's really important to pay attention to there's a goal or an ideology behind that kind of belief. They believe that what matters is really the individual sort of fulfillment that you're going to experience. And so they're not attempting to do what the Bible's attempting to do with this topic of marriage and family and romance, which is to found a successful multi-generational family. They are trying to figure out how to maximize somebody's individual experience, their individual freedom, their ability to have a fulfillment as an individual. So trying on each other, regardless of the statistics about what that actually creates, that makes sense within that framework because I need to get what is ever best for me as an individual. And so I don't care about the kind of family that we are trying to found. We don't care ultimately about the children or grandchildren that's going to come from this union. What we care about is this the kind of relationship that I'm going to be happy with over the long term? And I need to be able to try that out. And we know that that leads to disaster because God has told us that the covenant of marriage, the decision to say, no matter what, right, come sickness or in health, till death do us part, that is what founds a powerful multi-generational family that's stable enough to bring children into the world and then to provide the kind of environment, the kind of family environment that leads to the most flourishing. So really pay attention to the ideology behind so many of the way that people think about cohabiting. If you want to go deeper into a very different way of thinking about family, this podcast that my wife and I do on family teams, we talked about how to raise daughters differently. So take a listen to this message as well.